What's going on, guys? Bobby Fi here, flying solo. I think it's going to be a pretty quick show. There's not a whole lot to get into. It's a really lame slate, a lousy two-gamer, and just talk about a few different ways you can try to get different. One guy that I am going to use as a spend down that I'm forcing into Tribe just because that I expect the ownership to be so low is Jeff Green. He's getting enough minutes in Denver, and I could see him playing in the low 20s tonight, and I'll take a shot on him at 3,200. These are not like the most exciting plays in the world. They're just little ways you can get different. The other one is Darius Bazley. I think that's an interesting way to get different for a cheapo. The main plays are pretty straightforward, but you're going to have a lot of chalk. So I'll just say what I'm going to be doing. I'm prioritizing Thompson. I like Suggs, Wagner. I like any of the pieces from Orlando very similarly. I'm boosting Suggs up a little bit because I think that I'm just curious real quick to get an updated projection. Yeah, I think his ownership is going to be a little lower than the other guys. So he also brings a little bit of a downgrade for guys like Wagner and Carter, but it's not enough to where on a two-gamer we should be worried about it. So I'm going to play Suggs, Clay. I have the Jeff Green. I have a little bit of the Bazley. Jamal Murray, I think, is going to start, crushing this price tag soon. So I think we should get it while we can. He's going to be popular. Josh Giddey, front end of a back-to-back. You expect him to play one, not the other. So I would assume that he plays this one. And then you have, do I go with Poku, who's going to have some ownership? One of these guys from the Thunder for extra value. I don't mind Robinson Earl. I don't mind Jalen Williams. I don't mind Poku, but I'm not overly excited about any of them. My favorite play is Giddey in that game, and I am probably going to be stacking the later game as a general strategy. So pop on in with any questions. There's not really a whole lot else to talk about. I mean, it's a lame slate. It's not the most fun one to go over, and there's very limited options on getting too different here, and I can't seem to find anything that I really love that's getting off the board. Even guys like Trey Mann are going to have some ownership. Could take a shot with Bruce Brown at 5,200. His minutes sort of fluctuate. I mentioned the other guys from OKC, but you can throw Aaron Wiggins in the mix as a weird play. But I just like the Jeff Green and Beasley as the get weird guys. I don't mind JaMychal or Chuma for Orlando, but I think you want to try to get one of these guys in. I think maybe Chuma wouldn't be a bad one, but I like the Bazley, Green, maybe Robinson Earl, but it's not like I like it. It's just that's the way to get different, and we're trying to get different on a two-game slate. So it's not a fun one, kind of a lousy one. If you guys don't ask any questions, I'll probably just hop out of here in a few minutes because I don't have a whole lot to go over, and I don't really see myself making any massive changes to what I've already got right now. So unless something comes out with a starting lineup or somebody's out or something, trying to figure out what to do with the Terrence Ross thing. I think that's why you do come up with a guy like maybe you could even see Okeke Hampton get more minutes tonight. Hampton's been pretty reasonable per minute, but I don't love the price. I guess super large field. I think that you could throw Mo Bamba into the mix as a spend as a cheapo, but that's what I'm doing is just trying to get into one. Yeah, I just mentioned Hampton, but I think he's fine. I don't mind that. Actually, I don't mind Hampton, but I'm not getting too much of him myself personally. Those guard spots are pretty loaded, and I think that's why I'm not getting to him much because I do think that you should have some exposure there, for sure. If you're playing 10 lineups, I would have at least one, probably two lineups with Hampton in it, just trying to force in that play. But yeah, it's not the most beautiful slate in the world, that's for sure. I'm kind of thinking about doing this Bazley thing instead of the Williams. It looks like Sheets did pop in. Hey man, I was just about to get out of here because I didn't know if there was going to be much to talk about. It's a pretty lame slate here, huh?
Well, let's talk about some other stuff, I guess. So just to give you guys, we'll talk about football.
Yep.
But just to give you guys a couple of couple of heads ups. I tweeted about this as well, and you probably saw it come in. Two kind of new videos were recorded by me today. One was with Rick Rungood. We did a full 45 minutes on kind of the state of golf gambling. We talked about DFS. We talked about jock market. We talked about betting in general. And it was a really, really cool discussion. We talked about how, what edge might still exist in DFS. And we talked about ownership projections, all kinds of cool stuff. I do recommend everybody watch that. It's pretty, I think it's pretty interesting. The other thing with more direct information is we did a Breeders' Cup video for the Breeders' Cup, which is coming up tomorrow and Saturday. And I had both Michael Bay. And so all three of us did a full, hour on the Breeders' Cup. And, suffice to say, are just not going to get any better EV from me in any field that I participate in than following what we're doing in the Breeders' Cup. So I will just say that you might not win, but I promise you that it's literally the best deal you're ever going to get. Basically free for Breeders' Cup stuff. So
yeah, I would listen to Cheats on this one, guys.
Yeah. So take a look at take a gander at both of those things. I also did an MMA DFS slate video, and the other thing I'm going to be debuting either overnight or tomorrow is I'm going to do my first MMA betting video. I've never done one before, but you know what? I've been fiddling around with it for the last year or so, if you want to know the truth, and I feel confident enough that I have a kind of a cool, kind of contrarian approach to this that's very similar to the way I think about sports betting and the other sports. And there's just so many people betting MMA that I figured I would throw our hat into the ring as far as content on the betting side as well. So I'm going to put that out either overnight or tomorrow morning. So there's that to be done. In addition, like you said, we have NFL coming up this weekend, and I will be. Will I? Yes, I will be able to go live with you on Sunday. And what else? There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. I saw Goldie put up projections for the NFL. Tell me about the other NFL things you have going.
So we're recording NFL tonight with Goldie. I think that it's interesting. Take a look at his projections as the true aggregate. And right now it's just up there for football, but I think that it's really helpful. So I'll be doing a show with him tonight on that. Me and Rody are going to be getting together tomorrow to do our final week picks of the week.
Nice.
And then I'll, of course, post my cores and my early build and all that stuff. So that's what we've got for football coming up.
Nice.
Yeah, and Rody should have his stacks and everything done. He usually gets them done either late Saturday, early Sunday. So he's going to be right before stuff. But there, as always with this time of year in the NFL, there's going to be some injury updates that are going to probably change slates and things. So just keep an eye out for that. And Sheets. So what are you doing tonight? What do you play on these little two gamers? I don't know.
Well, I'm going to play the NBA, and I'm going to play the showdown slate in the NFL. I want to ask you about a couple of guys that came up in the NBA stuff, because I started with the normal. I just ran projections. I ran SaberSim, see what I came up with. And I'm getting the normal guys. I'm getting 23% of, and again, this is never, I don't know who this is and couldn't imagine them ever playing on a full slate, whatever. Do you know who Caleb Houston is?
I know the name. I think it's pronounced differently, but I don't know.
It's possible.
It sounds familiar, but where are you getting this from?
He's a 3K guy on Orlando.
Yeah, and he's played at some. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I was hoping you'd tell me he's like some stud guy that I'm supposed to know. But but he's not.
No,
one of those guys.
No, I mean,
every once in a while, I'm like, who's this guy? Like, dude, he's like the number 2 pick overall, and you're an idiot. You know what I mean? So I was hoping I would get something like that.
No. I don't know where he ends up fitting in.
Okay.
I think Okiki and Hampton, I think, are the guys I would play off the bench.
Okay.
For what it's worth, and I would consider taking a shot on Mo Bamba.
Okay.
But that's just because the slate. I think I would rather play all those guys rather than that play.
Okay.
And it could be Kevon Harris. I don't know. It's just Terrence Ross and I mean they're obviously already missing Cole Anthony, but they should play 10 guys tonight. So, but I think you're going to see more minutes. It just solidifies the starters' minutes more than anything.
Gotcha.
And I think Okiki would be the guy who I would side with if I had to pick one of those. But I also kind of like the idea of playing the Darius Baisley at low ownership later on.
Mhm.
I've got the other one I like a little bit is Jeff Green. So that's what I'm doing.
Are you playing any Kevon Looney?
No, it's too chalky for me.
Okay. Okay.
Like I'd
And
rather.
what about Bones Highland?
I'm not getting there, but it's totally. I think it's a legitimately like good play. I just didn't. I think the guards are really valuable. I like Clay. I like Jamal Murray. I like Giddey, and then I'm happy to play Suggs.
Okay.
So that's why
that sounds fair. What are you gonna do in football?
And I'm trying to decide Jalen Williams and Poku. I think Poku is the answer, but I don't know. But in football, I we're going to have the receiver value. That's where we should start off. Obviously, the receiver value for Houston should be pretty significant, and somebody's going to have to catch some balls. But assuming that and we don't have what's his name out, and the projection guy who people are going to like is going to be Tyron Johnson. I don't think it's any lock that it's him. I think playing any three of the tight ends, OJ Howard would be probably my favorite. But I don't mind if you want to play Akins or Jordan instead. One of these guys should get some work. You know what I mean? Then you've got the Philip Dorsett at receiver. I don't want to play too many of their receivers, but these guys are all so cheap. So I'm definitely going to have some Tyron Johnson and some Philip Dorsett. Dameon Pierce will be the main piece for me from Houston, and I'm finding it really hard not to want to play. Just Jalen Hurts is going to be in all my lineups. Even for the captain, I feel like it's going to be so popular, but it's hard for me to ignore it. So what I'm doing is playing Devontae Smith mostly at captain to get a little lower ownership, and then leaving some money on the table.
The guy that I'm getting most of with those wide receiver cheapos is the Brevin Jordan that you mentioned, just because he's like 2 cents. The other thing that I'm doing tonight is I'm capping my salary lower this time than I did for the last slate. Like the last slate was I capped it at 49.2. I'm going back under 49K for this slate. And even so, it still runs the risk of being heavily duped because there's so many cheap wide receivers that they're going to show up even in optimals, leaving 2,000 on the table. So even that is probably not enough to get completely unique. So I think that what Eric is kind of getting at is in his last thing is maybe something you could do, like if you wanted to play someone like Quez Watkins in captain or something like that, and hope you get lucky there. I
wouldn't be captaining him, but I think that I think he's an interesting play. I don't think he's going to be high owned because the other they'll go for the value on the other side. But Quez Watkins has big play potential. I mean,
yeah,
he's always been a play in theory more than he actually comes through. So I don't know if I like the idea of odds of him scoring a touchdown for the first time this season. But I think that he's on the board as a very low owned piece because people will play the Akins, the what's it called, the Tyron Johnson, the other cheapos on the Houston side instead of him, and the Brevin Jordan and all that stuff.
And I happen to like the Houston side against the spread here. Just again, not the greatest play in the world, but if anybody cares, I think that Miles Sanders is probably a really good play tonight. Just because again they are a 14-point favorite, and it could be one of those games where Miles Sanders gets 150 yards. It's possible. So I like that. I'm not really getting, and I kind of like this. I'm really not getting the defenses, which is good. I don't really want to get the defenses. I have like 7% Philadelphia, and that's pretty much it. I'm getting also 7% Houston or whatever. He says, are we not playing 5-1 Houston stacks? I just don't think the chances of that coming in is enough to, even though it's going to be really low owned. I just don't think that the chance that come in is just high enough. You know, and Eric, and I'm with you in spirit. You know what I mean? Like if this were like a 6 or 7 point spread, I think you could play some 4-1. I think you'd be able to play some 5-1s of like the underdog just for the to be unique and to be different and all that stuff. But I mean, just the odds that it actually comes in is just so thin tonight that I don't think this is particularly the night to take a shot at that. The only reason like the 4-2 in Houston can work is if those four like are include like a couple of cheapos so that you can get like Hurts in the captain and like AJ Brown or something like that, you know, and then you go for a full, you know, AJ Brown, Hurts, and then like a whatever. But it seems as though you don't need to go to the four Houstons to get to the Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. Like I'm fiddling around with lineups or whatever, and I'm getting like easy 4-2s with Philly, including Hurts and the captain and AJ Brown in the lineup. You know what I mean? So I just don't think that on this particular slate, Eric, you need to do that. Although in theory and in spirit, I respect the hustle. You know what I mean? To try to go for the 4-2 Houston's, but I'm not quite doing that today.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still trying to decide which Houston receiver I would want to play. I forgot to mention Chris Moore before, but he's the other guy you can spend up for. Yeah, I'm struggling with that decision personally myself.
What are you saying here, Eric? He says AJ Brown has an odds boost. Is that odds boost? That's what it means. Easy fade, LOL. Yeah, I disagree. I don't think he's an easy fade here.
Yeah, he's there. I mean,
yeah, I just don't think he's a fade.
No, I know, and I'm trying to fade him, and it doesn't feel very good. He's going to score fantasy points tonight. He's going to be targeted a number of times, even if he only plays a half. Like it's just what they do.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, I think that I don't know. As I've been saying, I mean, it's kind of hard with Cooks out or whatever. But Houston's scrappy, and listen, remember, like Philadelphia, they're a 100-point favorite. They're just coming into this game expecting to win by 100. It's just natural for in a situation like that to necessarily get off to the greatest start. You know, these are really tricky games for teams like Philly that are like, you know, really strong teams. They're focusing on beating Dallas, right? In those games. They're focusing on the tough games. They just by their nature are not going to be putting as much effort into these. And yet, on the other hand, you have Houston treating pretty much every game as their Super Bowl, but especially a game like this with what's been known as what's been regarded as one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league coming into Houston. I mean, these are just, in my history of watching sports, these are just games that teams get up for. Do they have as good talent as Philly? Of course not. You know what I mean? Are they probably going to win? Of course not. But you're going to get Houston's best shot, whatever that is. And I don't think you're getting Philly's best shot, which is why I think that, you know, this game could be somewhat close, which also means that it's also very live for Philly. You know what I mean? Because the closer this game is, the more Hurts is going to be put, you know, having to step on the gas pedal. So I don't think that it's going to be, you know, like Philly defense and don't play anybody from Houston. I think Houston will do something, you know, and then we'll just kind of see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So Eric is saying I'm not playing Hurts captain. LOL. Okay, I mean, you know, this is United States of America. You know, you don't. But who are you playing? You know what I mean? Like if I don't want to like debate this with you, but if AJ Brown is a colossal fade and you're not playing Hurts in the captain, I mean it's you know listen, I mean you're already getting different if you don't pick one of those in the captains. But like you said, if you want to play Kes Watkins in the captain, you're certainly going to be unique doing that. Yeah, there you go, Eric. Hey, I'm not saying it's not unique. It's just, you know, it's just low percentage. And in this particular slate, I just don't think that the chances of it coming in warrant going that route in the name of uniqueness. I think you can get, you know, first of all, I also believe that those types of plays are going to get a little more, you know, are going to be a little more popular than you think. Like you put like Kes Watkins in the captain, like all the other guys, and then you're like so excited when he scores a touchdown, and then you'll see that you'll be tied with like 47 people anyway. You know what I mean? So I would probably I would avoid that construction today. I just don't particularly think it's the greatest GPP day. Now, with that said, I do have a couple of sprinkles. Like I do have a couple. I do have a couple of P. Dorsett in the captain lineups. I do have a couple of B. Jordan in the captain lineups. A couple of the T. Johnsons and a couple of the, whatever. But if you think Houston could be in this game, it's certainly nothing wrong with playing Dameon Pierce in the captain. I mean that's certainly. I think that's I don't say different. I mean, but that's contrarian enough. I think to get your lineups going. So. Burkhead, Eric Johnson saying Burkhead. Okay. I mean, he's definitely.
Yeah, I can see the game script fitting Burkhead. I think it's a good play, actually.
He's definitely listen. He's definitely a showdown dude. I mean, he shows up in showdowns. He's like the use check of this team, But I think I don't know. I just I do have a couple lines with Pierce and Burkhead.
Mm-hmm.
But the Chris Moore guy you brought up, I do have a decent amount of him.
Yeah.
So I definitely like that.
It's tough. This is gonna be a tough one for Houston.
And just because I'm here, I will tell everybody what I ended up with in my hockey, because hockey is actually the most not lucrative, but it's the most full slate on the board. That's like a full 13 game hockey slate, and they don't do it on purpose, but it's kind of neat when they have like the 2-gamer in the NBA, and then you have like a 13-game hockey slate. I have, just so you guys know, my highest owned hockey stacks are going to be Edmonton and Tampa. So just go with the projections. Use Saberson. You could build probably some decent lineups that way, just using the process that I've kind of laid out. What else? Any news come in the NBA in the last 10 minutes, or not really?
Nothing really, man. It's we shouldn't assume anything will happen for the Warriors of them sitting anybody or anything. If you wanted to play a little bit of like a contrarian sort of thing and stack the later game with like Jokic and Shea, I think you could make an argument for playing like JaMychal Green, Okeke, and like Hampton, or throw a Bamba or something like that to get all your value and just sort of hope the game blows out, and then stack up the expensive guys from the later game. It's just sort of hitting me that's not a bad route to go.
I mean, if no one's got any questions, I mean, I got my announcements out. I talked about our plays.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good
out here.
Yeah, and these slates, I really wish OKC and the Spurs are not allowed on these kind of slates, because they're just going to play roulette. They're going to spin the wheel and decide who goes. You never know who it's going to be, and everybody's going to go, I knew Poku would go off last night. Yeah, great. How'd you know that? How'd you know that? Did you know that he was also going to get lower his minutes the last 2 games before that to 17? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a total.
Oh, you know what else I have? I have an announcement to make. So I'm doing a recording on Monday. It's an off the board guest. I mean, it's a really off the board guest. Really has nothing to do with DFS or even sports, but I'm having him on anyway. I'm going to be recording with Alex Jacob. Alex Jacob is a former poker pro who actually was also former Jeopardy champion. He runs a site called School of Trivia as well. I know him back from wherever. He's been actually very vocal in the Robbie poker thing too. We were talking about other stuff in the last couple of days. I want to follow up with him on all his trivia stuff, because he has a whole trivia business I want to talk to him about. I'll go over some poker stuff. So we're gonna, I don't know what category we're gonna put this in. We're gonna jam it in somewhere, and I'm gonna talk with him. We're gonna talk with him on Monday.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. But that's it. I want to talk to you about something offline. So if you want to end the stream,
okay,
we can do that.
Okay, let me do it. 1 second. All right, guys. Good luck tonight, and I'll be in Discord if anything comes up.